So with female custodies right here, and presumably Amazon's strong arm in Games Workshop, and Games Workshop dedicating to diversity, inclusion, and equity, as we can see in the video by my friend Asmogan, that will be in the description, we can pretty much say that things are looking dire if you're a Warhammer fan of any kind. But don't worry, because by the Emperor we'll have our home again. And we will in a different way. Because rather than talk doom and gloom and so on, I'm here to give alternatives. You technically don't have to leave Warhammer per se. You can find solutions to an important problem, and that problem is not giving Games Workshop money. And here are quite a few solutions. Let's take them step by step. First of all, paint-wise, there's a billion companies that make paints, and it's easy to not buy pseudo-branded paints or tools or glue or anything for that matter when it comes to hobbying, because other companies already do that, and some of them do it better. And here's the real kicker. You can buy those for cheaper. You see, that's the best thing about picking different products than pseudo products. You can find things that are cheaper, because we know Games Workshop loves taking an arm and a leg for everything they can get. So, of course, there are different brands, Vallejo's out there, Army Painter, blah blah blah. I could go to the moon with all these possible options, but that's not why we're here. I'm here just to give a few examples and we can move on from there. While different British headlines are smacking of another attack, of course not the last and clearly not the worst, we can look to better options when it comes to miniatures, because this is bread and butter. This is basically what Games Workshop wants you to buy. They need to milk you for that. But there are always better options. For example, if you really want to get something that looks nice, there's always the option that everybody talks about and it's promoted everywhere. 3D printing. Even Games Workshop does it. Don't you worry about it. Games Workshop also uses 3D printing to make their models. And it's fair game. If they can do it, so can we. Oh no, but tournament legality and so on. Who cares? One of Warhammer's biggest problems when it comes to the game is that basically you're kind of stuck to a more competitive game than anything else, and let's be honest, there can be 100 tournaments that are not organized by Games Workshop and people can do whatever they want. There's no problem there. So there's 3D printing as an option with a bunch of STLs that, you know what, where there's a will, there's a way, and you will find anything you need. But let's say you're more like me and you don't have the space for a 3D printer. You don't really like working with resin, and you're not that keen on the more dangerous part of this resin project thing. So, you know what? There are options out there, of course. There's always, you can pay somebody to 3D print for you. That's always an option. There are, of course, other miniatures out there. If you want to deal with Warhammer Fantasy and Age of Sigmar to an extent, you can always buy Kings of War. Amazing game, in my opinion. Underrated as hell. If you need tanks, there's bolt action and other stuff like this. There's also War Machine, and War Machine, Warmahordes, whatever. That one came out too early. Like, that is a case of a game and miniatures being ahead of their time, but not being quite there where they should be. So these are a few options. Either 3D print, find somebody that can 3D print, or get miniatures from other games. What are they gonna do? You can technically play Warhammer with just rocks and pebbles and coins. You don't really need miniatures. It's nice to have them, but at the end of the day, you can do that with those. And if you want miniatures, of course, the options above with 3D printing and finding different miniatures for what you need is always out there. And worst case scenario, let's look at the worst case. You really want to have that Games Workshop look to your things that you play with, but you don't want to give them money. Of course, if you're lacking in the financial department, there's always an option. Warhammer exists, and you can download pages to make your own paper-crafted titans, tanks, and whatever, or you can go more easily with the cutout cardboard And that's a pretty good option in my opinion. And it's one I really like because you can get all that Games Workshop quality without spending a dime. And what's better than free? Now, when it comes to game-wise, let's be honest, the same thing applies as with the miniatures. You can get games and play different games. Warhammer Horde, other historical games, etc. So you're not really limited to only Warhammer games out there. But if you really want to play Warhammer, well, where there's a will, of course, as always, there's a way, and that is just find older editions. Things before Games Workshop decided to throw everything in the blender. Before 2021. You know what? I think stopping at like 7th edition is like perfect. That's like the best spot. But you know what? There's always an option. If you really want to play something like Warhammer and different, there's always and always one-page rules. Now, one-page rules is pretty interesting because it's in the name. One page filled with rules, and that's all you need. No 10,000 codexes, no 10,000 erratas and FQAs and anything like that. Just one page with everything you need on it, and that's it. Quite frankly, overall, the options are limitless when it comes to not giving Games Workshop money and still enjoying Warhammer, because nothing forces you to give your hard-earned money to a company that hates you and is so greedy it will probably take your firstborn child just so you can have a box of 7 Space Marines. And you still need 3 more, so better have another child on the ready for that. Yes, this joke was initially based on Necrons. Sue me. Coming back, it's important to realize the options are limitless. We're filled with those, and there are better things out there while we can still enjoy Warhammer. Now, some people might think that I didn't talk about the lore because you can stop with the lore at any point, and I shouldn't be saying this on YouTube, but where there's a will, there's a way, and you can always find a piece of lore that you really want, and I'm not talking on wikis and so on, in its original form. Again, stop at like 7th edition, or maybe even 8th if you're into Primaris junk. But I hope you know better than this and you're not into it. What matters is that on the other side of misery, this world that we so long to see is out there. And it's reachable, it's attainable, and at the end of the day, we can get it. We can enjoy Warhammer without giving Games Workshop money. And it's so easy to avoid Games Workshop and the things they do and find alternatives and solutions. Now, some might wonder, does this still make me a Warhammer fan at the end of the day? And I would say yes. Just because you don't want to support a company that's bringing ruin to the setting doesn't really mean you're not a Warhammer fan. You care about it enough to enjoy it without giving money to a greedy corporation that would see it ruined. Trust me, I used to be big into Warcraft in the day, so I know how it is. I know the pain, and I'm used to it. And hey, if at the end of the day there's no fire to guide our way, then we will make our own. We'll start our own, in fact. And it'll probably be better. But before that, I found this nice thing on Twitter that I really want to read, because I like reading. Together we banish the ignorance of Warhammer. But you betrayed me. You betrayed us all. You sold yourself to BlackRock and lied to your fans. So let it be war. From the 3D printed minis to the pirated PDF books. Let the fanbase boil. Let the sales fall. Let Games Workshop burn.